Here's my Ryobi Zero Turn. I just modded it to support charging from a Genius. I want to have this as a charger because my batteries are starting to go, and I know the stock charger does not charge it completely. Also, the stock charger, which I'm looking at right here, it doesn't have any kind of maintenance or repair mode. So also, the last point is these are lead acid batteries. I eventually want lithium when these actually die. And this charger does not support that, but this brand new Genius does. So to pull this off, as you can see, I made these 4 ports here for each battery. These are called Sidewall ports that ultimately connect to eyelet DC 14 gauge connectors to each of the batteries. And as you can see, what I had to do here, let me go a little closer. I had to slip the eyelets under this plastic so I could get the plastic back. I did all of this by pulling out the battery. There's plenty of YouTube videos on how to do that. And then taking off each bolt one at a time and just swapping in my eyelets that lead to a cord here that connects to these sidewalls. So all of these are detachable. This detaches right off, as you can see right here. Comes right off. And what's nice, and this means I can ride the mower without this. Now this is a marine battery charger. It's supposed to be on the boat with you. Well, that's not my application at all. So that's why I modded it so that it has modular components here. I made them modular. I did make a mistake, and here's my mistake. I cut the cord right here, and I cut the cord before the fuse. That was wrong. I should have cut the cord after the fuse. Now my fuse is right here. So I do have a fuse on these cords, and it's right here. There's the fuse for the NOCO right in the dead center there. So I do have a fuse, but I should have cut right after this, and between the fuse and the eyelets. I should have cut there for maybe 3 reasons. 1, I voided the warranty with NOCO by cutting between the black cord. There's some sensor wires here. Definitely don't hit the black cord. And I cut from here before the fuse. I shouldn't have done that. I voided the warranty. I should have cut after the fuse. And the other reason is now the fuses are in there, so if I did blow something, which I really don't intend doing, but now the fuses aren't so serviceable. I can't access all of them without pulling them out. The other reason is I'm putting more stuff. I'm putting more wires up here, and that made it harder to push in, and you have to be so careful with pushing this in. And so that makes it a little bit harder when you have fuses in there. If I could rewind time, I would have cut at after the fuse, made my port here, and I just used those butt connector, crimper, tin, those great things, that heat shrink crimping things. They're great. I use that. I wish I did that there. Then just have one single eyelet going from here and then connecting to the other side of this connector. I wish I did it that way. But I'm sharing my experience so that you all learn. And I did have problems with these batteries. They didn't cut the whole yard, and now they do, because they actually charges the battery all the way. So I'm hoping to get a couple more years out of the lead acid, and then I'll go ahead and replace the lithium when I really need to. And I anticipate this going through some repair modes as time goes on and the batteries fail on me. But right now, I just mowed. That's why it's all in red state. It's actually charging, but it will get to blinking green. For a while, it was over a day for me blinking green. Then I saw 3 solid greens and 1 blinking green. Blinking green means it's optimizing. It's not quite there yet. And when I first plugged this in, it was right after a solid green of this charger. So this charger is like, it's like, oh, I'm done charging. Then when I put this charger on, it's like, no, keep going. And I did a bunch of readings to prove that it wasn't in fact charging it completely. And also I can now mow my whole lawn when I couldn't do that before. The NOCO charger is hardwired with no modular features. So to make it modular, you need to cut. You need to cut the black and red cord. In this video, I'm cutting the wrong spot. I'm cutting before the fuse. I should have cut after the fuse. So don't make my mistake. Cut in between the fuse and the eyelets, and then extend on that with the 14 gauge wire. The next step is to connect where we cut to the SAE connector. Then finally it's modular, and we could plug that into the port that we're going to create on the mower itself. And then I kind of grip it gently, and then just make sure it's already shoved in there. Make sure I like my spot, and then crimp it there. And I worry that I jiggle it a little bit to the left, but I didn't. Boom. Give it a tug. This should not come apart. Give it a good tug. So kind of got to be patient here, get some different angles, and then it eventually just shrinks onto the cord and makes it tight and waterproof too. And you're supposed to use crimpers that are for this insulated connector, which I did, because you don't want your crimper to make a little hole, because the heat will just make the hole worse. And of course you don't want holes here. Now I have a cord with eyelets I'm going to connect to the battery, and then there's eventually going to be a SA connector that connects to this sidewall, and that's going to have a nice flush plug on my mower. These things just move back and forth. So I just connected these to the underneath of the bolts, each of them. These things slide back and forth. It's not a big deal. And then I just did it one by one, carefully. And now this is still on top nicely. I'll finagle these a little bit more. But this will slide back in. I'll just start connecting everything up. I just drilled 4 holes. Basically, I just shoved the drill right here where there's a notch in the plastic. It's like a square behind this. I just go right to the notch and then drill up, and that's going to be my anchor point of where I'm going to drill the hole for the sidewall or grommet, whatever you want to call it. So I drilled 1 hole on the edge, and then I just used the sidewall as a template and put the three more holes there, and then marked them, and then I made a little X. So I'm going to drill right in the dead center of that X. Hand mount the sidewall, and then drill the holes, and then I should be good. Well, this worked. This is a Sharpie, oil-based Sharpie. I put some here on it, and then lined up my screw, and then I kind of really know what I want to drill out here, which is great. So I kind of like stamped the oil-based marker, and now I know where to make my cuts. Just drilled on the edge of my stamps. I'm gonna somehow just saw or drill some more to cut that out. So I just used a box cutter just to go to each hole and then connect to the next hole just to cut it out. It works. It's ugly. I don't have a Dremel, but it works. This is almost flush, but it's actually a circle here. So I'm gonna do the oil trick, the oil marker trick, just so I know where to cut out. This isn't flush yet, but I see my first drill screw is here. That's great. I'm just pressing down to make something. Let's see what we got. Yeah, now I know where to hack away with the box cutter. It's finally flush. I still have my original hole there, and then this is how big the hole needs to be. So I got them in there, about to put in my last screw. You should drill really small holes for this plastic. But then, it's as simple as it sounds. I'm just going to connect these to what we fished through here, and then close it up, and then it should work. Okay, the connections to, what do we call this, a pigtail sidewall. Nice and snug. It's this Easy Connect SAE connector. And then I wrapped it up with the same color that I have earlier. And then I'm just going to make this a little neater. I just wrapped them up. I don't think this is code, but here it is wrapped up. I just plugged in my NOCO charger. As you can see, it's not terribly long cord. You see it's dangling here. I'm just giving you a feel for how long the cord is. Now here we go, I'm all plugged in. I plugged in each of these connectors to each port. They're good. They're not great. There's no audible click. It doesn't feel like it's secure, but it definitely is. It's definitely in it all the way. And this is plugged in. I'm just powering this on for the first time. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm 90% sure I'm lead acid is the 12 volt because I'm not lithium and I'm not AGM. So all I'm seeing now is red, 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 even though these are fully charged batteries. But it might be going through diagnostics to understand the battery. What I expected to happen is just go to green and stay solid green. And these batteries, they're good, not great. I've had a couple issues, and I'm curious to see if the Genius is going to say it needs to go into the repair cycle or not. But let's see. There we go. All green. And let's see, the first two, nope. Pulsing green, pulsing green, pulsing green, pulsing green. Yeah, this might be like a startup sequence.